Yeah, hey, come on. Hitting new levels of come on the bezel, the not on the iron, the rock heavy metal. What? Yeah. Hitting new levels of come on the bezel, the not on the iron, the rock heavy metal. Whoa, hey, yeah, yeah. Hitting new levels of come on the bezel, the not on the iron, the rock heavy metal. Whoa, hey, yeah, yeah, hey. Hitting new levels will come on the bezel, the nine on the iron, the rock heavy metal, the fire and the power. I grind by the hour, we working on building the whole them in power. The sounds in the stars, mine is on Mars. Nigga like Tesla, lightning bars. Ain't down broke, man, I'ma go hard. Need a big house, big watch, big car. Need a big house, big watch, big car. Need a big bang, man, need to go yard. Living high fashion in the last days. I don't give a damn, man, let him eat cake. I don't give a damn what a hater gon' say. Hard to see an asshole got a fool getting paid. Getting revenue every time, make a wave. Red up like the water, cause we making these waves. Red up like the water with a gang like slaughter. Millie on my mind live, I be round high. Laughing to the bank while I'm stacking all these dollars. Getting real high while I'm pulling on this la-la. Putting numbers on the board like it was a aha. Praying to the pancake like it was a aha. Got the studio doing numbers like a trap house. In the backwoods, bending corners with a strap out. Hitting new levels will come on the bezel. The nine on the iron, the rock heavy metal, the fire and the power. I grind by the hour, we working on building a whole damn empire. The signs and the stars, mine is on Mars. Nigga like Tesla, lightning bars. Ain't down broke, man, I'ma go hard. Need a big house, big watch, big car.
All right, what's up? What's up? What's up? So today's books that I'm going to go over are one, The Emerald Tablets by Doreal, and then of course two of Billy Carson's books. But before I get into these actually two books, I wanted to talk about how I came across from Billy Carson. So I can't remember how long ago it was. It was a while back, I guess, when he first started and stuff like that. Um, some of the stuff that he said was kind of interesting. Now, uh, I've already knew about Zachariah Sitchin, and there were some things that Billy Carson was trying to, say that he was cross-referencing and that he found the information on and stuff. And I was like, okay, man, this is, this dude is sitting here talking about the Emerald Tablets. You know, what is that? I mean, I knew what it was, but I wasn't in deep into it. And then uh, I eventually came across, his book. This one right here. Let me bring it up. Make sure you guys can see it. Let me see how the big one. Yeah, so this one right here. And there was some stuff in there that I wanted to check out, do a deep dive in because, I don't, I can't stay up to, at this time, I couldn't stay up on reading as much. I've already talked about that in the past and why that was so. But what was interesting to me was he said in this book, and like every book that I own, every book that I have, I have a lot of tabs on it. It's just tabs that I found interesting, something that's like, okay, hey, I need to go back and research it, right? And at this time, actually, this is actually when I started picking up tabs. So all these tabs right here is not from the first time. So the very first time, oh man, what happened to that light? uh, it's storming outside. I just seen that before I was going live. You can see I have little marks on the side, stuff that I found interesting, right? Something that I was like, okay, I gotta look more into that. I mean, here's some more pages to give you an idea. Like, see, I used to mark that up. So this was actually the beginning of me putting these sticky notes or tabs or whatever people want to call them. See, I got them right here. I gotta order some more. So yeah, it's just these little things right here. And you can tell I beat this book up too because it's read a lot. And the reason why is because I like to do my due diligence behind researching somebody's stuff. So what I like to do is I like to see why they believe what they believe. Okay, I'm not going to tell them what to believe. I'll point out the facts, but it's just me wanting to know why they believe what they believe. Okay, so I'll be going over these tabs, and the first one that struck me out of curiosity in this book is it says in the first two chapters of this book, I will provide information so you can understand and validate for yourself the role of extraterrestrials in our history. So I was like, oh, okay. So, you know, this dude coming up to the plate. I know he's a Sitchin fan because I mean he does repeat the same thing Sitchin says, and I've already did a series on the stuff that Sitchin uh, got wrong according to academia, at least. And but I was like, okay, he's gonna tell us about extraterrestrials because everybody likes extraterrestrials. There's a big fan base for extraterrestrials, aliens outside of Earth's atmosphere and stuff like that. And he believes the Anunnaki came from a planet named Nibiru that orbits our sun every 3,600 years, and they came here to mine gold for their home planet. That's what he believes. The facts are, I already went over that plenty of times, is that none of that is true. There is no cuneiform tablet that indicates that. There is no cylinder seal that indicates that. I already went over cylinder seal VA 243. And but I, I was like, okay, this might be something new. So I was like, so I'm already thinking the first two chapters, boom. I want to know exactly what extraterrestrials are doing in our history and why is this related to Thoth. Now, before I go on to start this book here, we have to go to this book here first. And the reason why is this one. I don't know if you guys got to see it. Yeah. The reason why is because this is where the source is from. You don't have to read any of Billy Carson's books about Thoth-The-Atlantean at all, because this book right here is all you need. It's by Maurice Doreal. It's spelled different ways. It's the Emerald Tablets of Thoth-The-Atlantean, and it was translated by Doreal. So this is supposedly, this book right here is supposedly the actual translations from Thoth to Maurice Doreal himself. And I'll point out an example of that real quick. It's actually the first tablet. It's Thoth the Atlantean. So he's talking like as, hey, write this down as what I'm saying. This is who I am. So, but there's not many tabs on here. I mean, there's 4 tabs on here, and it's mostly just lining up, what tablets I should read the most. Now, I've been told that you should read this at least 70 times or something like that. I can't remember the number. It has to do with a 7. But once you do, you're supposed to see or get some information or something that's supposed to happen to you individually wise. So what's the interesting thing about this book versus Billy Carson's is I don't need to go to Billy Carson to understand this book right here. Okay, that's for somebody who's looking for extraterrestrials or all this or any of that. And this book is actually online for free. Like I think it's like one of the archive websites. I can't remember which one, but if you just type in, the Emerald Tablets of Thoth-The-Atlantean by Doreal, you will or PDF with it, you'll get, you should get a link that says free, and you should be able to read it for free. It's not a long book. It's less than 100 pages, and the font is it's okay. It's okay, but it doesn't take long to read. And I always highlight and recommend people to go actually um, read the Maurice Doreal's one, because a lot of people know about Billy Carson but haven't read Doreal's book himself. And you know, a little bit about Maurice Doreal is he supposedly got the information from Thoth himself. He gives the history of Thoth, possibly going back. And I'll read the first part. It says, "The history of the tablets translated in the following pages is strange and beyond the belief of modern scientists. Their antiquity is stupendous. They back some 36,000 years BC. The writer is Thoth, an Atlantean priest king who founded a colony in ancient Egypt after the sinking of the mother country. He was the builder of the Great Pyramid of Giza, erroneously attributed to Cheops." Then it says, "See the Great Pyramid by Doreal. In it, he incorporated his knowledge of the ancient wisdom and also securely secreted records and instruments of ancient Atlantis." So Atlantis is a very big popular subject right now. A lot of people already know that. That's like one of the popular subjects right now. And but Thoth is supposed to have come there. Now, this is where Thoth and the Sumerians and Egyptians of Thoth come into a similarity. I've read so many times that Thoth and Ningazita from the Mesopotamian Anunnaki and Nuna uh, are one and the same, just like Thoth and Hermes and Kukulkan and Quetzalcoatl. A lot of people consider them all one and the same. That's interesting. Okay. I'm not going to sit here and argue that. Like I said, I'm not here to prove anything wrong. What I'm saying is that this is the source that you want to go to if you actually want to understand Thoth-The-Atlantean. You don't, like I said, you don't have to buy Billy Carson's book. If you want his understanding or his interpretation, then yeah, then go and buy it. But I always recommend going to the original source. And actually, in so many, and I'll show you in a few, uh, the Mysteries of the Forbidden Emerald Tablets of Thoth. That one of Billy Carson. He says in there in so many words, and I'll get the right quote when we get there, about how he's the source to all this stuff. No, the credit that he needs to give a lot to is Maurice Doreal. This is the one that actually got the translations from Thoth. This is the person that actually had a a a, a kind of a sit down with Thoth. That Thoth told him this information, gave him this knowledge one way or another. Okay, so this is the bread and butter. If you want to know about the Emerald tablets, this is it. Now, what's interesting is there is no Emerald tablets, and I'll tell you how I find the right information. I know that I believe it's Sir Isaac Newton, if I'm not mistaken, has some type of translations, and that's what a lot of people consider. But there's not an actual Emerald tablet. Nobody can show an actual picture of a Atlantean and Thoth Emerald tablet. And I'll tell you why. Because if it goes back 36,000 years, or um, it says here, for some 16,000 years, he ruled the ancient race of Egypt from approximately 50,000 BC to 36,000 BC. That's literally the next paragraph. Okay, so we'll go with 50,000 BC. That means that the first writing system will be on that emerald tablet. There will be a writing system. So that means that when it comes to the Sumerians being considered the first civilization because of their writing system, then that tells me that there's a much older writing system that just hasn't been translated yet, because nobody actually knows what it looks like. There's no tablet. Now, I've heard that it's in the Vatican archives, and Billy Carson talks about that and stuff. But if that's true, you definitely have no access to it. So you have no idea what the Emerald tablets say. The only person that we know that actually got this whole big thing rumor started in a sense, I guess you can say, It's Maurice Doreal, the one that wrote the first book. So, like I said, you don't need Billy Carson's book to read it. And then the next tab in this book is just what I already went over: Thoth-The-Atlantean, master of Thoth-The-Atlantean, master of mysteries, keeper of records, mighty king, magician, living from generation to generation, being about to pass into the halls of Amenti, set down for the guidance of those that are to come after these records of the mighty wisdom of great Atlantis. So that was just the first little part. That's how that one starts, and then the next tab, because there isn't that many tabs on here at all. And the only reason why is because you just have to read. As me personally, you have to just read this book yourself. Like I said, it's for free, so anybody can read it. Then it just goes to Emerald Tablet 8. Unto thee, O man, have I given my knowledge. Unto thee have I given of life. Hear ye now and receive my wisdom brought from space, planes above and beyond. Now, mind you, when I'm reading this, there's not, the Emerald Tablet writing system. There's no writing. This is not coming from a book from him. Thoth is actually speaking these words to him. And then Clyde David, I say Clyde. Because he changed his name. I believe it was Clyde Dogans. Let me see. I can't remember. Let me see. Let me check this. Doreal's first name. I think it was I can't remember. I think it's like Clyde Dogans or something like that. Let me see. I know he changed his name. Let's see. I gotta verify that because hold on. No. What was Doreal's first name before he changed it? There we go. Yeah, Clyde Dogans, Claude Dogans, and that's the name he used before he reinvented himself as Dr. M. Doreal. Maurice Doreal. Yep. So yeah, I just wanted to make sure. So, and he's also, let me see, he is I want to say, let's see. Yeah. He's with the Brotherhood of the White Temple. Okay. Like I said, there's not that many tabs on here. So this is if you want to know about the Emerald Tablets, if you want to know about, if there's actual Emerald Tablets, this is the source that you need. Now, the reason why this book, going back to Billy Carson's Emerald Tablets book, is interesting is because he says that Thoth is basically an extraterrestrial. He came from somewhere else outside of Earth's atmosphere, right? And what's interesting is I already went over the first tab where he talked about he's saying that what to expect from his books. The next tab that I have for him, he says it's a subtitle: How have those in authority within Western civilization approached the study of life beyond planet Earth? And so he just basically gives, hypothesizing things. He gives, the idea of Galileo in 1633 when he challenged the view that the Earth was the center of the universe. He talks about the heliocentric nature of our solar system. He talks about the Catholic influence on our awareness of alien presence. and he talks about the Vatican Observatory. So he says, meeting at the world-renowned Vatican Observatory, founded in 1582, an atmosphere of discovery, flexibility, and possibility, being open to change, could be found everywhere. Vatican Observatory scientists, clerics have generated top-notch research, collecting one of the world's most significant collection of global and earthly data. Now, let me just give you a quick example. So he's basically saying, okay, this is his first piece of evidence saying that there's life outside of planet Earth. When I was a little kid, I always thought that there was life outside of Earth. I didn't even, before I was even exposed to any of this stuff, besides religion, I should say. Um, I always had this idea, and these ideas are found throughout ancient history. That's why every civilization has a connection with the constellations, what they see in the stars. There's no, so that right there doesn't, throwing all these ideas out there to me is just telling me somebody had a lot of questions that a lot of people couldn't answer, and because they was really burning up people and stuff like that, they definitely some people might have not said too much stuff. They just went with the program, but that to me, okay, doesn't matter. Then the next tab he talks about is basically religion and science, and it's basically let me see. So he basically talks about the Big Bang. So this is what's interesting to me. So he talks about the Big Bang Theory states that the universe began 13.8 billion years ago. So let me say this again. He says the Big Bang Theory states that the universe began 13.8 billion years ago after the explosion of a single super dense point that made up all the matter. Now, that's partial right, partial wrong. First of all, I know this for a fact because I wanted to know where the hell the Big Bang Theory term came from, and I found it. So it's not the Big Bang Theory that states the universe began 13.8 billion years ago. It's the primeval atom, and that was written by Georges Lemaitre. Okay, Georges Lemaitre. I've already talked about it in my book. It's on my website and all this other stuff. Look up the primeval atom, and he is actually the guy that comes up with the single point explosion idea. Now, the Big Bang comes from Fred Hoyle, who was doing a BBC broadcast discussion, and he used that term to basically what you call it, uh, make fun of Georges Lemaitre's uh, theory, the primeval atom. So no, it should be the primeval atom states that the universe began. That's what it should say if you want to be accurate. Okay, because that's where we get the single point explosion idea from, which uh, is actually accurate on that side as far as George Lemaitre. But like I said, Fred Hoyle is the one that actually came up with the term. All right, so the Bible, okay, he says even in the Bible, he gives Hebrews 13:2. I propose that these angels are actually aliens. Okay, now that's actually interesting because I want to, and this is a thick, I got the New Jerusalem Bible right here, and I want to see what it says on there because I know people pick different what I can say they pick different words for their narrative for whatever reason. That's why you have different versions of the Bible itself. Okay, hold on. What was it? It was 13:2. Let me go back. 13:2. All right, we're gonna see what it says in here. This is the New Jerusalem Bible, 13. Hold on. All right, this is actually interesting. Hold on. 13:2. I want to know what it says. Angel. I want to see where he actually sees that at. So uh, hold on. There we go. All right, hold on. See, this is what's interesting because see what the New Jerusalem Bible says. So I want to see what Bible Gateway say. I think it's Bible. Let's see. Not Bible Gateway. Yeah, is it? Yeah. Okay, yeah, see. It says I okay, see. All right, so basically what he was saying is that he proposes that these angels are actually aliens. Okay, so the New International Version and the New Jerusalem Version. Let me see, make sure. Those are the two that I looked up. And hold on. Yeah, it just says continue to love each other like brothers and remember always to welcome strangers, for by doing this, some people have entertained angels without knowing it. And it says, do not forget to show, yeah, so that, and then do not forget to show. Okay, so yeah. See, so I just wanted to make sure all those were, I always like to see exactly what they're talking about. So he just says, so he says angels are actually aliens. So this is what's interesting to me. So when you go to the actual, hold on, let me tell you, if you go to the Strong's Concordance, okay, and you type in angel, you'll see that all it means is messenger. So a messenger of some sort. So that just means that somebody that's bring a message, basically. It's a messenger, right? So with that being said, that you know he's saying that these angels are aliens. That's interesting to me. Wanted to know where he got that from. Then he talks about he says that a famous Armenian mystic and writer, George Godishev, searched for the source of an esoteric knowledge and stated that what he found will seem strange to many people when I say that his prehistoric Egypt was Christian many thousands of years before the birth of Christ. And he's just talking about different people that he's still trying to give these different people that believe in extraterrestrials and stuff like that. Here's chapter 2. Chapter 2, he says, Thoth ruled Egypt at a time that far outpaces our present understanding of precisely how old Egyptian is ruling Egypt for 16,000 years from 50,000 to 36,000 BC. Thoth became the highest of priests of ancient Atlantis, trained by his own father, the master of masters of pre-Diluvian Atlantis. This ruling occurred after the floods that devoured the ancient civilization. Thoth ascended to Earth, where he led the development of a new civilization in the northeast corner of Upper Africa, also named Kem or Egypt. So he does give credit to uh, Maurice Doreal because he does say right in the next one, which is still chapter 2, the first page, it says, according to Dr. Doreal's translations of the tablets, there are a total of 15 emerald tablets. At first, he says the tablets number 10 on the page, first of the preface, but later he says they number 12 on page 2 of the preface. Finally, his translation ends by saying 15 tablets exist. Then it says it wasn't too long after Doreal's providential survival from the trenches of World War I that he had a revelation from Thoth. The god told him how to find the ancient Mayan pyramid housing the tablets and to instructed him I'm reading it like it says, to instructed him to recover the tablets for a modern translation. J.R.R. Tolkien speaks of a similar experience after his experiences in the trenches that led to his vision for the Lord of the Rings. Out of chaos comes order, says Thoth to this dictum. Both Doreal and Tolkien would agree. Okay, Doreal completed his translations of the Emerald Tablets in 1925. The tablets appear to be written in the ancient language of the Atlanteans, but Thoth gave Doreal the inspiration and guidance to complete the translation without outside assistance, much as God revealed his words to the prophets of the Old Testament. So basically, like I said, Maurice Doreal is the guy that got the information. So like I said earlier, if this is true, then there is a writing system that goes back at anywhere from 50 to 36,000 years ago. So that means technically by fault the Sumerians aren't known as the first civilization because of the writing system. And that's the whole idea of trying to find Atlantis. That's the whole idea of everybody so wanting to get information. Until we get that writing system, we don't know, because then they can go back further and see how these people talked and or at least see how they have written down their stuff. So like I said, that's just still interesting to me. Then the next thing he talks about is okay, the real person named Yeshua, Jesus, is actually Thoth, or the son of Thoth, in his personal opinion. So in his personal opinion, he either thinks that Thoth, this is what he says, the real person named Jesus, Yeshua, is actually Thoth, or the son of Thoth. So he thinks Jesus is the son of Thoth or Thoth himself. Now, this is what's interesting to me. He talks a lot of, in so many ways, not, he doesn't, I don't think I get, when I read about what he says about Jesus, I get the feeling that he doesn't like Jesus. So I just keep it like that. And it's just interesting to me because that means you don't like one version of Thoth then, right? Because he's supposedly all these different individuals. He comes back, he leaves and comes back. And it's interesting to me that all this information he's getting from Doreal because he read his book, like I already shared, right? And he's just basically rewriting what Doreal said in his books, and I got that feeling about right there that this is going to be just a rehash of Doreal's book. Well, let me continue. One of the most influential scientists of all time, Sir Isaac Newton, was an English mathematician, theologian, astronomer, author, and physicist. He was known as a key player who revolutionized science. His book, Mathematical Principles of Natural Philosophy, which was published in 1687, was a paramount in laying the foundations of classical mechanics. Newton's Principia formulated the laws of motion, universal gravitation, and that nominated scientists' view of the physical universe for the next 3 centuries. Okay, Newton removed the last doubts about the validity of the heliocentric model of the solar system and demonstrated that the motions of the objects on Earth and celestial bodies rest on the same principles. Then he gives a website with a link. Okay, that's still his idea of saying, look, they're looking for life outside Earth. Like I said from the beginning, I still believe till this day that there's life outside of Earth, and I've been thinking that since I was a little kid. So, and I'm pretty sure I'm not the only one. So, people who have no TV, no internet, and nothing like that, and all they doing is looking outside at night, I'm pretty sure they had some ideas of what if there's life outside of Earth. So here's another one. One of the biggest falsehoods about Aztecs and Mayans is that they were responsible for building the city and pyramids, as well as the surrounding areas. So the pyramids there, and then he's basically saying his trip to different places around there, archaeologists guided him and said that neither the Mayans nor the Aztecs founded or built, any of these complex areas. And people are going to say what they want to say. and you throwing that in there like they didn't, because there's actually records of them saying that the Olmecs had pyramids. They're actually saying the Mayans had pyramids and all these other people. So he's saying extraterrestrials is basically saying that, because he's saying that somebody told him that the Mayans didn't do this or they didn't do that. Uh, how did you verify that information? Because there is definitely evidence out there that says, like I said, the Olmecs, the Mayans, Aztecs, and all of them, they had their own types of pyramids. Then chapter 3, where we get into it, he says, in this chapter, I will establish the true source of the teachings of Jesus. It appears that most of his biblical teachings and statements come directly from the Emerald tablets. This also points to the possibility that Jesus may be Thoth or the son of Thoth. Now, I want to know how he got there. That's what I wanted to know. How did you get to saying that, Jesus and Thoth is one and the same? What led you to that? If in so many ways that he doesn't believe, like I said, when I read him or hear him talk about Jesus, and it's more in the next book that we'll go over. It's kind of hard to believe that. So he just basically goes in his book. He takes parts of Doreal's book because it's an archive and you're able to do that. He's able to go in there and put the tablets down in there, and then he gives his idea of why he believes what he believes. Chapter 4, he says, according to Thoth, only free-thinking individuals use their own conscious thoughts and can be capable of rising up to a higher level of consciousness. Absolutely. There's different ways he talks about that. He talks about all these scientific experiments that they're doing and stuff like that. Another part that I found interesting is he says, as evidenced by the information provided on a 2045.com, it appears that we are following in the footsteps of the Atlanteans who were seeking eternal life in the physical form. Take a look at some of the goals and initiatives being planned by the group at 2045.com. Like I said this before, as humans, we always want to live forever, right? Somebody passes away in our family, we're going to wish that we can try to keep them alive forever, right? That's just what people do. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about that. It's just so funny that he says that, the Atlanteans were the first ones to think that. No, I'm pretty sure that as long as we have human consciousness out there, I'm pretty sure that we always felt like some kind of way that we all wanted to live. That can go back millions and million years. So just saying that towards, that's your idea of, saying we going back to the Atlanteans. First of all, if you're going to go to the source about Atlantis and what Plato says, you got to go read Timaeus and Critias. I personally want to know exactly what technology or what the advanced technology that that Atlantis had that over the rest of the world. Like, what was so far above than everybody else, and nobody really hounds on that. So hopefully we can get some answers from that sooner or later. Yeah, he talks about the chakras. The 7 lords represent the 7 chakras in the body. Each is tuned to a specific frequency. Now, it's funny that he says the 7 lords because there's more. Some people say there's more than 7 chakras. I've read so many different numbers, so the 7 is like the basic levels. So once you get 7 down, then you move on to another set. Then you move on to another set. I can't remember how many there are. I mean, everybody had different numbers, but for the most part, most people know that there are 7. But he chooses, the seven lords represent the 7 chakras. It's just interesting because anybody can pick a number from that. I've heard that the 7 Anunnaki goes up sometimes to number 12 or even higher than that, but that's just up to different people's interpretation. Then he says in the next tab that I'll talk about, he said, did you know that the Egyptian headdress worn by the pharaohs have design elements that pay tribute to structures in the human brain? I've seen that argument. the Egyptian headdresses and how they are supposedly tied to the human brain. I wouldn't see why that wouldn't be something that they would think to do in the first place, and the only reason why was because they was always gutting people out anyway. So I'm pretty sure they was doing their own autopsies and everything else. So symbolism played a major part there. So I mean, yeah, I don't see how that has anything to do with extraterrestrials, though, right? That's just being a human mind having things. Who's to say that these extraterrestrials get their knowledge from their brains? I mean, they could get their, and where's their brains really at? Like, you don't know. We don't know anything about them. And then he's just, yeah, he continues because the rest of these tabs uh, are are just basically more stuff that he put into that he took out of Doreal's book himself. So, like I said, he's taking things from Doreal's book himself, and he's just re-putting it in here and saying this is what this means, and that's it. I mean, he gives a quick shout out to him, right? But I'll tell you how in the next book in a few seconds how he's telling you that you can skip all that and just go straight to him. He talks about yeah, that's all the tabs on this one. Yeah, that's all the tabs that's talking about this one. So this one right here, um, is just a rehash of this in his interpretation, not what Maurice Doreal was saying in particular. Because in this book, in Doreal's book, it gives you, so one side, there's two sides to it. There's the side that's in English, and then the other side, which is still all, the whole thing is in English, but the right side is more of what it's supposed to mean. So like I said, if you want to know exactly what he believes he understood from Thoth himself, then you don't need to read Billy Carson's book. You need to go to this book first and read this. You need to understand what's in here. And even do cross reference it with that one. So the next book right here is Billy Carson's other book. So of course I got the tabs on here. This book is just basically supposed to finish off the last two tablets in there. And I can tell you, I thought Billy Carson was somebody who was actually going to be truthful and factual with his information. And not, it's about me, and how I'm a multimillionaire and all this other stuff. Like I said, you don't have to read any of Billy Carson's book to understand what Maurice Doreal was saying. That's Maurice Doreal is the source. He got the knowledge to the point where he was supposed to explain it to us in our language that we understand the best way it's supposed to be done. Billy Carson took that, and because it's online on free archive, he was able to use a lot of that book for his own material and give what he believes. That's why he says he believed Jesus is Thoth, or Thoth's son. The reason why I got this book is I was at Cosmic Summit, and somebody actually watched a couple of my shows on what I've learned from reading these books. And they know that I just go over the books and I give my little commentary and try to go through, and show the facts and stuff like that. And it was like, hey, I need you to do one on Billy Carson's book. Do you have the Mysteries of the Forbidden Emerald Tablets of Thoth? And I was like, no, I don't have that one, but I have his first one. And he was like, I'm going to go get this book for you. Or he says, I'm going to give you this so you can go get the book, get you a signed copy. So, and he wanted me to go over this book because he was like, he had heard me in X Spaces talk about Maurice Doreal all the time. When people brought up Billy Carson and his Emerald Tablets, I says, you're not going to get no information from that book that's going to be relating that Thoth is Jesus or the son of Jesus, or that there's an Emerald Tablets. You're not going to get that from reading his book. And everybody would argue me up and down. And then one person actually was like, yo, I actually went and bought that book you was talking about. And I can see why you were saying that Billy Carson just did what, took the information from him and basically made a better business move with it, basically. But what I found, the first tab that I marked up in this book, it says, although the author and publisher have made every effort to ensure that the information in this book is correct, the author and publisher do not assume and hereby disclaim any liability to any party for any loss, damage, or disruption caused by errors or omissions, whether such errors or omissions result from negligence, accident, or any other cause. Likewise, the author and publisher assume no responsibility for any false information. No liability is assumed for damages that may result from the of reading or use of information contained within. Read at your own risk. The views of this publication do not necessarily reflect the views of forbidden knowledge. Now that doesn't make sense to me. Why would you put that in there? Um, I don't know why. I don't know why. So he gives an introduction of it, and he talks about, basically the Emerald Tablets are ancient works by Thoth-The-Atlantean priest king, and he gives, his depictions of it, which, what you would do, and then he talks about, the ibis, and then um, you know, uh, you know what it looks like, what the bird actually looks like. Uh, and so let's see. Hold on. And then you got, let's see, when I first learned about the Emerald Tablets, I started reading and they blew my mind. The more I dug into them, the more I saw and the more enlightened I gained. Even in his book that I just shared, the Emerald Tablets, a beginner's guide, you'll notice that the tablets 14 and 15 are broken down and aren't broken down much because I wasn't ready to break them down at the time. So basically, like I said, not for nothing, you don't have to. It took him time to, what he calls, breaks it down. So of course it will take you, if you go and see what he says, you probably won't agree with everything he talks about in between the two. He talks about part 2 in here, that the evidence that Earth is a portal, according to scans, underwater pyramids are inside the Bermuda Triangle, right off the coast of Florida. So he's basically saying that there are some kind of portals there, and they open up certain times, and that's why things get lost and stuff like that, and that's why the Bermuda Triangle is so famous for things happening and coming up missing there and stuff like that. And let's see, the next tab I got on here. Okay, so he talks about the Merkaba, and then he talks about Ba is the essence living forever, Ka is the shadow that man knows as life, Ba cometh not until Ka is incarnate. And then he says these are mysteries to preserve through the ages. So he's saying that Thoth is saying that Ba is the essence that lives forever. That means we're already eternal, so we can stop fighting for eternity, stop begging for eternity, stop asking some other deity to come and give you eternal life, stop calling on the name of Jesus because you're saying, Hail Zeus. Now, this is why I said this is interesting, because just in his last book, he just says that Jesus, Thoth, is one and the same, or Jesus could be the son of Thoth, but he's sitting here saying, stop calling on the name of Jesus. So using name, you can use either Thoth or Jesus. I mean, if you read their Emerald Tablets, you have to say these words correctly, right? And maybe there was a correct reason why they started using the word Jesus. No one, I mean, I know when the letter J came in and all that other stuff and all this other stuff, but he's saying, this is what he says. He says, stop begging for eternity. Stop asking some other deity to come and give you eternal life. Stop calling on the name of Jesus, because you're just saying, Hail Zeus. You can stop begging Jesus to give you eternal life, begging him to forgive you for your sins. It's worthless. No, because you're asking Thoth, man. Like, that's, I mean, if you're saying in your last book that Thoth and Jesus is one and the same, or Thoth is the son of Jesus, That's I don't understand why you wouldn't say that. It's just linguistics, man. Like he talks about linguistics and how he knows about translations and all this other stuff. So it would only make sense that he would understand and know for the fact that, you know, they went from Thoth to Jesus, right? So I mean, come on, let's keep this. I didn't understand that part. So let's see. Here we go. So it says sometimes. Okay, let's see. All right, this is what I marked. It says sometimes Thoth calls himself the Son of Man. Now think about that, because Yeshua, frequently mentioned in the Bible, also called himself the Son of Man. Pretty striking resemblance, don't you think? Today I'm laying out the case that Yeshua is actually Thoth-The-Atlantean. Yep, that same guy, just wearing a different hat in another era. Okay, a different hat in another era. So you after you just said that, stop saying Jesus this and that, you say Yeshua and Thoth is one and the same. That's why he says Jesus and Thoth is one and the same. He really believes Jesus and Thoth is one and the same. That's let me turn this Bluetooth off real quick. That's actually interesting to me because I never heard anybody say that Jesus and Thoth were one and the same, or any of that. So he believes Jesus and Thoth is one and the same people. But don't say hail Jesus, or don't pray to Jesus and all other stuff. So this is another thing that's interesting. This is why I say this is this book is only uh 146 pages, and there's a lot of pictures in there. And this is where he got me to look at him like, dang man, it is you really do try. But here we go. He says, I have nice luxury things because I like to live the life of what I consider to be abundance. But I use those things as tools to reel in the younger generation, because I know the younger generation enjoys luxury. They like to see nice watches, they like to see nice cars, they like to see nice houses, they like to see nice vacations, they like to see nice clothes. So I do those things. I go into darkness utilizing my own bait, and I cast a reel out. Like he's basically saying he's trying to bait some bass fish. Now I'm a bass fisherman, and bass fishing is a sport, and you have to bait the bass to get it to strike your lure or your bait. Um, he says, but I've got bait on the end of my hook. The bait is my lifestyle. It hooks them, it catches them. They're like, man, this guy, he doesn't look that old. He looks like he is 40 or 50 years old. He's got nice stuff. He looks like he living a good life, and he is dropping this knowledge. I want to find out more about what this guy has to say. Now, this is crazy that he thinks of this himself this way, because I saved this part for this particular reason. The reason why I started to follow Billy Carson in the first place was because the representation of seeing somebody in that field. He was black. I'm a black man. I consider my black man. I was, my father's African American, and I grew up in the South, so I know what a black man is. So it's interesting to me because I was like, oh, Billy Carson's a black man too. He's from the South. He's from Florida, or he lived in Florida at least. And okay, so he lived here. Okay, I know who. Okay, all right. Okay, this is interesting. Yeah, it wasn't nothing about the nice cars or none of that stuff like that. It was just because I got to see a black man say, "Hey, yo, I'm reading about the Emerald Tablets. I'm learning about Thoth and Sir Isaac Newton, and talking all about this. He's all over TV at this time." And I'm like, okay, so I looked more into it. And then when I researched his stuff, like I said, when I read that first book that we just went over, and compared it to Maurice Doreal's book, I was just like, man, he wasn't saying nothing that I couldn't get from Maurice Doreal myself. This was it okay book to read? Yeah, because now I believe, well, now I know there are people who believe Jesus and Thoth are the same. So that was probably like uh, the only good information that came from that. Everything else, like I said, with the science trying to do eternity, life, and life outside of Mars or outside of Earth's atmosphere or whatever. I mean, I like I said, I when I was a little kid, I thought that. So there was no reason why I wouldn't think that these ancient people thought that, especially since they didn't have TV and all this other stuff. But when he said this stuff about, trying to bait people like this, first of all, this younger generation don't care about anybody kicking in any knowledge. These young youngins they don't really care about that. That's why rap and hip hop is so far where it's at today. It's not like how it was when I was growing up. I'm 42 years old, and you get some good knowledge in some of the hip hop back in the day. Every genre had its type of music and stuff like that, but hip hop was storytelling across different cultures and different groups of people. So everybody had their own story to tell, basically. So, but today these you know I could tell you right now, and this is the other thing. Um, I've been to plenty of conventions. You don't see black people up in them conventions like that. I mean, I've been to plenty of them where I was the only brown skinned person in the area. You might see one or two, uh, and usually, if you pay attention, they it's you- they're cautious about the people that they're around, and it is just what it is. I've went to all the way up to North Carolina to a small place that I was the only black dude there, and I don't feel anything because my mother's German, so I mean, I don't have any feeling towards it, but I can tell you Billy Carson saying this right here, it made me wonder, like, I don't see no black people showing up to the spots that you say you're going to be at. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, look at the pictures and stuff. I'm not saying nothing in general, but he's saying that he's hooking the younger generation. And what we know about that is the black community, and he's not doing that. I don't know where he gets this from. I know most of the people who do like Billy Carson are either the same age as me or older. So it's not any younger generation. So I don't know why he's doing that. That's where I started realizing more and more that he talks highly of himself on, because he got money and it's just his way of doing things. Um, but yeah, for me personally, I didn't look at him like that. I mean, matter of fact, when I first learned about him, and I remember telling so many people about this, and I showed them at the time too. And of course, it's updated, but Wikipedia used to actually say at one time he was 60 years old. So I was like, "Yo, there's a lot of mystery about this dude," and there is a lot of mystery out there about him. He changed his name also, which is interesting. But the next tab, he says, we are living in that type of situation where everything we hear, touch, feel, say, speak is being controlled. I can't hop on YouTube and talk about certain things. I have to use code words or they'll delete my account and cancel my paycheck. I'm a prisoner. This is what he says. I'm a prisoner. I have no liberty in that area. And this is true for every living person who is not a member of the wealthy, powerful families who rule the show. Now, this is what's interesting to me. He has his own television show on Roku, so he can say whatever he wants to say. He's not a prisoner like some people are. He's a multimillionaire, like he talks about in his book. He has millions of dollars. He takes pictures of his house and his cars and sit in the front. No different than how some of us grew up on MTV Cribs. You know what I'm saying? I'm pretty sure he would take us to his house if somebody would ask him to. But he says he can get on YouTube and do certain things. He doesn't have to go through YouTube. He can go through his own station. And not for nothing, Rumble allows almost damn near anything to be said. So you can definitely get on Rumble and do the unfiltered forbidden knowledge. um, the next tab, let's see. Yeah. This is what got me. Hold on. All right. This is what I kind of got lost in what he said. He says, "What's the what's the number one show watched on Forbidden Knowledge TV? The Egyptian Mystery School. That's the number one watched series. 39 episodes of Egyptian mysteries taught by me on Knowledge TV." This is what he says, word for word. If you don't have a subscription to my TV network and you want to watch that, you see I've obeyed the commandments. That's what he says. I don't know what the hell he's trying to say right there. So, then he goes into, this is the next page. The commandment is to form the mysteries, which is exactly what I've done. It says, make the way hard for the seeker to tread. These profound people, they're not even going to think about subscribing. You just can't roll everything out on YouTube. For seekers, I put out more information than probably anyone else in the social media content community. I'm sorry. With my team, we have about 140 accounts and probably post 30 to 40 times per day across all platforms. That's a lot of information, but to access the higher levels of knowledge and the more secret information, you've got to pay for workshops and sign up for Forbidden Knowledge TV. That makes it a challenging for the true seeker to tread this path. So if you don't subscribe to his Forbidden TV knowledge, then you're not a true seeker. Now that's just bullshit. Okay, I'm just gonna call that out as what it is. That's just plain bullshit. And I'm gonna tell you the reason why. First of all, your whole first book is off the idea of Maurice Doreal's book, so nobody needs to go to your Forbidden TV knowledge to get any of that damn information. Secondly, you just said that you cannot sit here and put everything out on YouTube. Okay, that's fine. I give you that. But are you taking that and putting everything on your Forbidden Knowledge that you're not putting on what you supposedly can't put on YouTube? Probably not, because you didn't say that you are doing that. You're just telling people that, hey, the true seekers, they're going to buy into my TV knowledge. When you can literally go to Maurice Doreal's book and read his book and don't even have to read any of your books. You literally just told everybody that you want everybody to look at you because you have these fancy cars and these multi-million houses and these watches and all these other things. And you think these younger generation people care about that? No, they do not care about that. All right. You also said that you have 140 accounts. 140 accounts. Think about that for a second, people. 140 accounts of him talking about what he knows, a team of people doing it. Imagine he didn't have a team of people that's doing it. He's paying other people to just sit there and share what he thinks is right. So those 140 people are not going against what he say. How many of those 140 accounts are saying, hey, look, don't trust Billy Carson's Emerald Tablets, go to Maurice Doreal's, or hey, you can trust his book and it's a good book to read if you want somebody's interpretation, but if you want the actual source, go to the Maurice Doreal version, because Billy Carson just basically says everything he says in there, but Maurice Doreal actually breaks down what it actually says because he's actually the translator. Now this is what is literally saying. This is what gets me heated about Billy Carson, is the simple fact that he thinks himself so highly of these knowledge givers. He basically just took Maurice Doreal's translations, his information, and he just monetized off of it. That's all he did. He took his information and monetized it. And he literally is telling you right here that if you're not a true seeker, no matter how much you like him, you're not a true enough seeker unless you go spend your money and buy his Forbidden TV knowledge thing. That's crazy to me, because bro, not everybody watches TV. First of all, some people actually all they do is just read. Literally, they don't have a television in their house. The only closest television they may have is probably a computer, laptop, or a damn phone or a tablet. And the reason why is because people read on those things and people still have to work. So that's probably the closest thing they have to a TV. Other than that, they probably don't watch TV at all. All they do is probably read. And I guarantee you he doesn't have enough time to read as much as he says he does. Really doesn't, because you have to be constantly working to be doing that. There's not enough time in the hour in the days to do this stuff. So listen to me when I say this. You don't have to go to Billy Carson's books for anything for any of that. The next tab that I got for him for this book, for the mysteries of the forbidden emerald tablets of Thoth, is in nature, man is threefold, where we're a physical being, we have astral body, which is our spirit body, and we have a mental nature as well. These are the three individual characteristics that make up a man. Okay, three characteristics. Remember, three characteristics. That's what he says. Let's see. All right, so he talks about now Edom El Ahim is interesting because we know that Edom is mentioned in the Bible, specifically in the Torah. The name Elohim, which is sometimes written as El Ahim, is the ancient term used to refer to gods in the plural. So, yeah. He's saying that he keeps saying, I'm telling you that Yeshua is the same person as Thoth. So he's not no longer saying that Thoth or Jesus is the son of Thoth, like he did in his first book. He's confirmed and actually said that Jesus and Thoth is one and the same. So he keeps saying that. That's page 114 of this book. He says, I am the truth, the way, and the life. No man cometh unto the Father, but by me. I am the key and the way. And this is in John 14, Jesus saying unto them. So that's one of the ways that he gives his correlation or similarities between Thoth and Jesus. And then the next tablet or the next tab is okay, name them by the name I, the 7, 3, 4, 5, and 6, 7, 8, 9 by their names. I call them to aid me, free me, and save me from the darkness of night. Okay, so this was just, let me go to the next page. Oh yeah, so this is supposed to be him finishing out Maurice's Doreal's tablets. Remember when I said that he's going there? Yeah, because chapter 14 is tablet 14 complete. And this book is just him talking about how he's a multi-millionaire mostly. How if you don't seek, he's a true seeker of knowledge, and he's the truth. If you want to be a true seeker, you have to buy into his forbidden thing. So these are the three books that I went over. And like I said, the reason why I started following Billy Carson, because I was like, oh man, this is not because he was showing off what he had. I actually started my website, which is still to this day, 5 years later, which is constantly being updated. I'm actually in the middle of an article now that is free from being monetized, meaning that when I started my website, I always said that I never wanted to monetize my website. I never wanted to have all these ads, because once you start adding all these ads on there, it takes away a lot from your website. When I see a website full of ads popping up and making my screen, covering up more of my screen, and I got to click on these buttons and stuff, and if I accidentally click on the wrong spot, it takes me to that website. I no longer go back to that website. I hate those websites. So what I wanted to do was share everything that I had personally for myself. And it was basically my journal. My website is a journal of what I've learned. It's not everything that I've learned, of course. I put all of my stuff into different places. So I have my YouTube. I have my Rumble account, which I'm actually updating all my YouTube channels to my Rumble account, so that way if one goes down, I still have another one. I have matter of fact, my book, Journey Through the Origins of History, I got some good news about that. My publisher is giving me all the rights to my book, so they're going to let me publish it under myself on Amazon. So they're going to go ahead and let me on the 1st of January put my own listing of my book on there, and they're going to take theirs down, and all royalties and stuff will go to me. So, which I'm pretty excited about that. So I already have all that done. I already just got to click the go on the 1st of January. So there might be a couple of days where you won't be able to buy my book, but it'll be back up on there. So that's really cool, because that my book actually went bestseller in Mesopotamian history, African history, and some other um, uh, sections. But like I said, when I followed Billy Carson, it was because I was like, oh man, a black guy's talking about this, and I already know about the African scholars from reading different of their history books, like they came before us, they came before Columbus, and all these different individuals. I even have books from the Yoruba, learning about the Yoruba tribe and the Nigerians and stuff like that. So I'm very knowledgeable on a lot of different subjects, and I can tell you that just reading Maurice Doreal's book will give you enough information to know about who Thoth-The-Atlantean is. And the only reason why I started following Billy Carson is because of that representation. But when I started seeing that he was taking credit away from somebody else that should have the sole credit, because you don't have to buy a true seeker. If it has to do anything with the Emerald Tablets, all you got to do is just go get Maurice Morel's book. That's it. Maurice Doreal's book. That you don't have to go buy no subscription. And a lot of stuff about the pyramids, I have the same certificate that he has from Harvard. Matter of fact, when he posted that certificate one time about him taking a class from Harvard from edx.org, hey, I took that same class. I literally took that same class, and I still have all the notes from there too. So I can tell you that there's so many different theories, but when it comes to the pyramids, when there's any argument on how they were built, I always say, let's go to Herodotus and see what he says. And he actually tells you how long it took the pyramids to be built, what did they build first, and all this other stuff, and what they used. Now, whether that goes with people's theories or narratives or whatever, that's not me. That's not for me to argue. That I won't argue that. I could just tell you what a historian from that time frame says that, because if you're a historian or a scholar or somebody that has to do anything with history or anything like that, Herodotus was the father of history. So if that's true, and if that is very true, then at bare minimum, I'm going to go with what he says, how the pyramids were built. Now, how that can be accomplished with tools, I'm not sure. I know a lot of people say you can't use pulleys and rope and this, that, and the third. I've seen rope be made from scratch. Literally, there was a YouTube I posted a while ago on that, and it's actually pretty interesting on how that can be considered done, especially with the help of elephants and all these other type of animals that can be tamed at that time frame. So I mean, they just used more natural substance to build those pyramids. And a lot of people say, well, they used copper. Well, I've read texts out there that iron has actually been out there longer than what most people believe. And I've posted that before. It's small bits amounts of it, but I mean, to understand how they use concrete and all this other stuff and how they move things and this, that, and the third, you just got to go to different experts. I mean, one expert will say it can be done, but it will cost too much. And another one will say it can't be done. And they'll be like, oh, let's go interview the guy that says it can't be done instead of going to the guy that says how much it might possibly cost. Because once they start throwing numbers out like a couple of 100,000 or a couple of million, will people fund that to be done? I always say that the pyramids of Egypt can definitely be built today. It's just how much money is going to be involved to do it. You got to pay a lot of people off. A lot of safety things got to be met, and all kinds of other things. But it can definitely be built today. So just, this is about the last of the books that I'll probably bring up anything about Sitchin or Billy Carson, and it's only because I'm done with their books. But it's been a long time coming with these books, and the reason why I wanted to do these 3 books together was just to basically say that if you want the facts about the Emerald Tablets, if you want to know the truth about the Emerald Tablets, if you want to go to the source, go to Maurice Doreal's book and get the Emerald Tablets of Thoth-The-Atlantean. If you want to understand how rich and how much money Billy Carson has and how he baits people in, and the scientific ideas that there's life outside of Earth and all this other stuff. If you want somebody's opinion, if you want to learn that Jesus and Thoth is one and the same, then get Billy Carson's book. If you want facts and you want to go straight to the source, like I said, Maurice Doreal is where you want to go to. Read his book first, understand his book before you even read Billy Carson's book. I suggest reading Maurice Doreal's book 70 something times. I can't remember the exact number, and I don't know uh, uh, where exactly it's at that I've read it at. I'm sure it's somewhere in that book also, but just go. I mean, you got to do your due diligence. I mean, if you don't want to do your due diligence, that's fine. That's cool. But I'm going to tell you right now, Billy Carson doesn't actually come up with a better way of doing things. Oh, I did want to bring up this. He did talk about that. There's I had the tab open, but when I put my book down, I did it. So he talks about in this book about how there's actually an emerald tablet in, I think, at like Cambridge or something like that. And I want to tell you that, like I said, there is no actual tablet. Now, what I did find is when I want to say it was Sir Isaac Newton who had the the information or some types of translations that some people can read, and that's still up for debate and theories and stuff like that. But before I close out, I think Billy Carson's books are good only because of the simple fact that you can see where exaggeration and facts kind of cross out each other, right? And what I mean by crossing out each other is that we know for a fact that there's no emerald tablets anywhere from Thoth-The-Atlantean. And we know that because if we did, there would be a language that goes back 50,000 years, a writing system at least. And I say I also like it because of the simple fact that it gives me an idea of, okay, somebody believes Thoth and Jesus is one and the same, but how do you get to that conclusion? How do you say that, right? And I can tell you that somebody like Maurice Doreal, his organization, his bloodline, his people, his family, all his relatives could possibly use that money that Billy Carson made off of that. Because, I mean, without Maurice Doreal, there wouldn't be any of these books from Billy Carson because he wouldn't be able to, monetize off of it. Like I said, if you want, I mean, and not only that, Maurice Doreal, this book is free online. So you don't even have to buy any of Billy Carson's books to even get to what the actual translation says. And like I said, Billy Carson does take out the exact stuff that's written in the translations and puts it in his book, but he doesn't put it in order. You have to read it in order. You can't just read sections of it. You have to read the whole thing, and then you have to read what it actually means on the side. It's a very interesting book, so I highly recommend it. Oh man, my banners didn't go off. I always got to give a shout out. They have this. Oh yeah, they have this new banner thing where they have a timer on it now. Yeah, see, I don't know why I won't do it. So okay, so they got these new banners on there now that they changed the thing, so the timers are on them. But I check out Lil Vibes music on Spotify. His music is my introduction, so that's new to the game. So yeah, these were the 3 books. I appreciate it. Took only an hour and 18 minutes. I'm surprised because it was 3 books, but like I said, there wasn't much in the books to really even talk about because it was basically a repeat of everything. So like I always say, until next time, knowledge is power.